Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the second video of the week. And it's going to be some of the same stuff as Tuesday, okay? Just another little step, okay? It's just a bit more complicated. But before getting into it, so again, if you don't have your copies, make sure that you have your copies and your pens ready when you're watching this video. Pause the video now and go get them if you don't. So think about it now for a second. What is another way to write 5 times 5? And I don't mean 5 times 5 equals 25. Just another way to say 5 times 5. Can you think of it? Well, if you said 5 squared, you'd be right. So we have to keep this principle when we talk about letters as well. So what about a times a? What would that be? Well, if 5 times 5 is the same as saying 5 squared, a times a is the same as saying a squared. Now what about x times x? We're on the same sort of path now, so x times x is also going to be x squared. Tiny bit more trickier. What about x times x? So think about it. I'm multiplying here 2 x's and I get x squared. I'm multiplying 3 x's here, so what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be x cubed, or x to the power of 3. So it doesn't matter which way you say it. Now let's introduce a couple of numbers. What about 2x times 4x? Okay, so what's going on there? Okay, so what do you think that might be? Now the way to tackle these ones is multiply number by number and letter by letter. So what's 2 times 4 and what's x times x? So 2x times 4x, I do number by number, 2 times 4, which gives me 8, and x times x, which gives me x squared. So guys, if you don't have this information, make sure to take this down, okay? Because this is, especially this last one, is going to be the basics of what you're going to be doing for all the questions. So, have a go at these guys in your copies. I'll put up the answers in a minute, okay? So just remember, it says write each of the following as a single term to a power. So that does not mean 5 times 5 equals 25. That means 5 times 5 equals 5 squared. So it wants everything as a number or a letter and then to the power of another little number. So pause the video now and have a go at these 12 short questions, okay? So you should have got this as your answer. So the first 8 aren't too bad, but I understand that afterwards they get a little bit tricky. So x squared times x squared. Just think, x squared means x times x. X squared means x times x. So I have 4 x's here. So x to the power of 4. And these are a little bit tricky because it was an a times a squared. Okay, so make sure that you give those a big tick if you got them all right, or correct the ones that you got wrong. This is so important that you correct the ones that you got wrong as well. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is stuff like this. This second one is just really difficult, but it's going to be more like this first one. Okay, so I'm going to do these 2 examples on the visualizer now. So make sure you're taking down as we go along, or you pause the video once it's all taken down and write it into your copies, okay? So this is the exact same as before, except now instead of it just being a number, it's a number and a letter, okay? So it's a little bit more confusing, but you're going to follow the same principles. So I like to use the loop. So the 2x multiplies with the x, and the 2x multiplies with the plus 4. So let's do this one first. So this x here, if you ever see a letter just by itself, that just means 1x, okay? So all we're going to do is we're going to do number by number, letter by letter, okay? So 2 times 1, what does that give me? 2. X times x gives me x squared, okay? Same. 2x by plus 4. So 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. And the x is just going to come with us. Okay? Next one. number by number, letter by letter. So I'll draw my loops, okay? So 5 times 2x, 5x times minus 1. So let's do number by number first. So what's 5 times 2? That's going to give me 10. Letter by letter, x times x is just going to give me x squared. Now be very careful here. I have a positive multiplied by a negative. So remember this guy. I have a positive multiplied by a negative. I cover that. I'm just left with a negative. So whenever you see a minus sign, we do sign by sign. So positive by negative gives me negative. And now we do number by number and letter by letter. 5 times 1 just gives me 5. And the x isn't going to multiply with a number letter, so it's just going to be 5x. And now the last little step is to add and subtract like terms. So a like term, this is an x squared. So I can only add another x squared. So this guy is an 8x. I can't add this because it's just an x. But here I have a 10x squared. I'll just cover it. So if I cover these two, the 2 and the 10, I can see that I've got an x squared here and an x squared here. Okay? And then I've got a plus 8x and a minus 5x. So you can only add the letters if they're the same, okay? Even though they're both x's, this is a squared and this isn't just an x, okay? You can't add those. So then we're going to get, so I'm just going to put them together. And now it is complicated because all these x squareds, but all you're doing now is just adding and taking away the numbers. What's 2 plus 10? 12 x squared. What's 8 take away 5? Well, that's just going to be plus 3x. Okay? There's nothing too complicated there. This one is quite complicated. I'll still go through it anyways. I don't think any of the questions are as bad as this one. Okay? So again, we're going to do the same thing. So the x by the x by the y. So x multiplied by x is going to give me x squared. A positive x by a positive y, you just write the letters, xy. This means xy means x multiplied by y. Okay? Again, now I have to get rid of my brackets first. So a positive 3x multiplied by a positive 4x, well, a plus and a plus give me a plus. 3 times 4, so number by number, 3 times 4 gives me 12. X times x gives me x squared. Now be careful here. A positive by a negative, go back to my face, a positive and a negative give me a negative. Number by number, 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. Letter by letter, x times y is just xy, xy, plus 2xy. This guy just comes down with us at the end. And now we underline and add and subtract our like terms. So I've got an x squared here. I'm looking for another x squared. I've got one here. So I'm going to have x squared plus 12x squared. Then I'm looking for xy. So it has to be an xy. So I've got 1 here. I've got a minus 9xy and a plus 2xy. So I'm just going to bunch them together. So I've got x squared plus 12x squared on one side. Then plus xy minus 9xy plus 2xy. So just be careful. Whenever you see just the letter by itself, so this x squared, this is the same as saying 1x squared. And this guy here, this is the same as saying 1xy. So it might help to write it in. Now you're just adding the numbers. What's 1 plus 12? 13. And then just writing the letter afterwards, x squared. Now, what's 1 minus 9? Well, 1 take away 9 is going to give me minus 8. Now, what's minus 8 plus 2? So minus 8 plus 2 is the same as saying 2 minus 8, which is equal to minus 6. So that's just done to the side over there. So this one is going to be minus 6 xy. Okay, so when you add and subtract like terms, just add the numbers and subtract the numbers in front of the letters, and then just write the letter afterwards. And that's your final answer just there. Okay, so make sure that you've got those two examples taken down in your copy with all the workings going on, guys. You need all these workings. You won't have a clue what to do if you don't follow these workings. Okay, so make sure all those workings are taken down. So for homework then, now I know it's a lot again, but I'm going to go through in the second video 18, 20, 22 and 24. So technically there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 questions for you to do. Okay, I'm going to go through these 4 questions so that there's extra demonstrations in case you need them. But you should also be taking down these 4 as I go through them in the second video. So I'll see you guys in the second video.